Have you ever felt like the deeper you think, the further you drift from others? Like every new layer of understanding only seems to widen the gap between you and the world. It's not just in your head, and you're definitely not broken. You might simply be seeing what others refuse to. Throughout history, society hasn't been kind to deep thinkers, not because they were dangerous, but because they were uncomfortable. Socrates questioned too much. They made him drink poison. Galileo challenged the stars. They locked him away. Nietzsche saw through illusions. They called him mad. Truth has never been convenient, and those who pursue it, they rarely find comfort in crowds. But why? Why does thinking deeply isolate us when it should connect us to truth, wisdom, and even each other? The answer lies not in intellect, but in the very essence of human nature. When someone stands next to a person who's physically stronger, they might feel admiration. When they meet someone who's wealthier, maybe envy, but rarely hostility. But when someone encounters a person who sees deeper, thinks clearer, and questions more, something changes. That person becomes a mirror. Not a mirror for beauty, but a reflection of limitations, of blind spots, assumptions, cognitive shortcuts. And here's the thing. People don't like being reminded of what they'd rather ignore. This is called the mirror effect, and it explains why the presence of deep thinkers can feel threatening, even when they say nothing at all. Unlike wealth or strength, intelligence isn't just external. It penetrates. It challenges your very sense of identity. Because we don't just have thoughts, we are our thoughts. So when a deep thinker questions those thoughts, or worse, quietly exposes their fragility, it can feel like a personal attack. Not because they're being rude, but because they're being real. And realness is rare. Our minds are wired for self-preservation, not self-inquiry. We crave certainty, not nuance, comfort, not complexity. And this is where deep thinkers clash with the world. They don't want to impress, they want to understand. They don't chase validation, they chase truth. And often, that truth makes people uncomfortable because it says, you might be wrong. You might not have all the answers. The life you've built on assumptions may be resting on sand. No one wants to hear that in the middle of a dinner party. So what happens? The thinker learns to stay quiet, or worse, pretend. They master the art of small talk, nods, polite smiles. Meanwhile, their mind is swimming in questions the room can't handle, and over time, the isolation grows. Not from arrogance, but from exhaustion. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Isolation doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It can mean you're on the edge of something meaningful. Throughout history, the greatest insights have come not from echo chambers, but from solitude. Schopenhauer called intelligence a curse, not because it brings suffering, but because it reveals the suffering others deny. Deep thinkers see the cracks, the contradictions. They see that much of life is theater, and not everyone wants to peek behind the curtain. But that doesn't mean you should close the curtain again, because even though this path is lonely, it's not empty. There's a quiet nobility in choosing truth over comfort. There's freedom in refusing to conform to shallow norms. Yes, the world may push you to the fringes, but the fringes are where revolutions begin. They're where Galileo looked at the stars, where Kierkegaard wrestled with faith, where Simone Weil felt the weight of human suffering and still chose to care. So what do you do if you're a deep thinker in a shallow world? You stop waiting for mass approval. You stop trying to shrink your mind to fit into rooms that were never built for you. Instead, you find the few, those rare souls who aren't afraid of uncomfortable questions. You build slow friendships, ones rooted not in trends, but in truth. You read, reflect, write, not to escape, but to understand. And above all, you keep thinking, because while the world resists change, it's thinkers who move it forward. not by shouting, but by seeing and showing. So if you've ever felt alone in your depth, remember this: you're not broken. You're just awake in a world that's still dreaming. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first step to something greater.